Okay, let's get started. So, happy Monday, everyone. Thanks for joining. Quick reminder why we do what we do here. So we have about 14 minutes left, and my goal is to spend that time just being as mindful as we can. So just being with what is in this moment. Right now, there's a phone ringing in the background, and when we do that, we are training our brain, right? So we're literally helping our brain perform certain functions that we want it to get really good at. And so this is like a lateral side cut view of the human brain. On the left part of the screen is the prefrontal cortex, the part behind our eyebrows. And then of course you have this, it's a magical organ. It's pretty small in relation to some of the other body parts that we have. It's only about 2.2 to maybe 2.5 pounds, but it consumes 20 to 25% of our oxygenated glucose at any given time. So it's like this powerhouse, this power engine of our organism. And a big reason for it is constantly processing all of the stimuli, the hundreds of millions of stimuli that come through our senses. So our skin, our eyes, our ears, our all of that basically travels from the peripheral nervous system up the spinal cord into our brain, where it then manifests as emotions or stories, right? So often the brain is this story making machine. So everything that our body picks up from the outside is converted into a narrative of some sort. And whether or not that narrative is blissful and happy, or it is terrifying and sad and heavy, ultimately is beyond our control, right? It just is. Things just happen. And so the little bit of control that we can exert is we can modulate the the back and forth between whether or not we buy into whatever stories appear in our mind, or whether we have the capacity to just be with what it is and maybe not actually engage in that narrative. And that state of mind of just being with whatever the narrative is in our mind, without judging it as good or bad, without believing everything that we think. One way of thinking about that is we call that mindfulness. And so I want you to think of your thoughts and emotions and sensations as clouds passing through the sky, right? They just kind of appear and then they drift on and they go away again. That's just like any thoughts or emotions we have. Another way of thinking about it is us being the stillness beneath a turbulent sea. So the waves at the surface, might have us feeling seasick or jostling us around. Yet there's a part of us that, 10, 15 feet down can feel this sense of equanimity and just this calmness. So we don't have to get jostled around by the waves. We can practice being in that deeper state. So let's actually practice that. So let's start by closing our eyes and begin by focusing your attention on your belly. Notice what happens with each in-breath and out-breath in your belly. Notice how the belly expands, how it naturally contracts. Just take note of how would you describe the state of your belly right now? Is it tense? Is it relaxed and calm? Is it vacillating between the two? Are there any sensations you're feeling in your belly? Butterflies or Noticing any gurgling in your gut. It's really about just dropping in for a second into this. It's actually a very important part of our nervous system is our gut. And just noticing what is my gut telling me right now? What does it feel like? And one of the most important aspects of mindfulness is this capacity to not judge or to just be open to whatever is there. So often this automatic narrative that our mind chooses needs to categorize things into good or bad or right or wrong, desirable, undesirable. And right now, see if you can just notice whatever's happening in your belly. If you can just be in direct contact with it, if there's any good or bad story, just notice that for what it is. That story or that judgment is separate, is different than just the pure sensation of feeling in your belly. Now expanding your field of perception and including your chest. So we might call it the heart center, both the belly and the heart. Noticing breath coming and going. This is being open and receptive to what's happening in your core. There's a reason we end up get an upset stomach when we feel anxious or nervous, or we experience heartache when we feel sad, because these are such central parts of our being. So the goal right now is just to become aware of what's happening there in this moment. Moving out of the turbulence of our head and into the deeper, stiller waters of our core. As I mentioned earlier, the head has this tendency to want to narrate, make stories, and explain things. And we're just letting that be, let the brain do its thing. Just see if you can continue to stay with the sensations in your belly and your chest. And if at any point you notice yourself drifting off into thought or memories, that's okay. Gently bring that awareness back to your core, noticing your belly and your chest. One of my teachers once pointed out to me, said that the longest journey that we humans ever take is the 18 inches from our head down to our heart. So that's what we're doing right now, is just giving some space to bearing witness to our heart and our belly. And then go ahead and take a deep breath in. Exhale all the way. And then just hold the exhale for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep inhale. Exhale all the way. Again, holding the exhale for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And go ahead, open your eyes. Allow your body to breathe on its own. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope this was a good start to the week, and hope to see you tomorrow on Tuesday at noon.